Every single month, there's a ton of new iOS and Android games. I'm Falcon, and today on GameRanks, we bring you the best new iOS and Android games of June 2017. Quick disclaimer, these are paid games. There is also a free game list we do every month that's already up. Number 10 is Foulest. The concept of this game is you're an owl who is trapped in hell, but that's pretty much irrelevant. If you can imagine a game that's like Super Meat Boy, Downwell, and Flappy Bird combined into one thing, that is the best description I can give you. Your owl flaps a lot like Flappy Bird, except for you have some more directional control, obviously, and you have to navigate around enemies and obstacles in chambers, one after another. Now, you yourself can act as a weapon, but you can also get some weapons, and it's just a really unique game. I don't know whether to call it a platformer or really what even to call it, but it doesn't matter. It's a fun game that I think you'll enjoy. It's out on iPhone right now, not Android yet, but they do say it's coming soon, which is good because it's really enjoyable. Number 9 is Forma 8 Go, which is an interesting game. It's kind of a flying Metroidvania, and it's been in development for a very long time. It was announced in 2012, actually. A PC and console version of the game is out, and people really liked it out on those platforms. It's now here on mobile, where you get to experience a probe exploring a new planet that's extremely visually pleasing to see, and on top of that, it's a very good, actually somewhat original Metroidvania, which is, no complaints for me there. Number 8 is Oh Sir, the Hollywood Roast, which brings the insult simulator into Hollywood. Now, it's not a fundamentally different game, but expands on the original quite a bit. If you haven't played it, it's basically head-to-head insult construction. You have different characters with different insult elements, you put them together, and whoever has the best insults wins. It's kind of like a fighting game, kind of like a puzzle game, but always funny, especially to me when the insults themselves make absolutely no sense. It's one of those games where if you haven't tried this series, this is a good time to, because there's a lot more familiar faces in it, and I think if you enjoy this one, it's also worth going back to the original too. Number 7 is Run or Die, which is an endless runner that comes together to be much better than basically any other endless runner. You have 5 distinct abilities, and it comes off as playing a lot more like a platform game with a lot of timing elements and puzzle elements thrown in, and feels a lot like a Super Nintendo era game thanks to the graphics. Truthfully, this is legitimately my favorite endless runner at the moment. This game is really, really good, and it will keep you busy as long as you want it to, basically. Number 6 is Mr. Future Ninja, a stealth, swipe, drag, isometric action game, and it comes together in a way that you might think, this could be good, this could be meh. It's definitely not meh. First off, the art style is absolutely gorgeous. This is a well-realized world that has a consistent style that kept me drawn in. A lot of color, a lot of differentiation between elements. It's very good. And I make sure to note that because a lot of the time the isometric games tend to look repetitive just because you always see the tile repetition, whereas they sort of embrace that and use it to their advantage in the style. The controls are self-explanatory, swiping and dragging do everything you need to do, and the game's soundtrack is not only super pleasant, but gets you going at the right time. Number 5 is Frame 2, a very interesting puzzle game in which you rearrange the panels in a comic. As you do so, the outcome changes, obviously quite drastically, and I think does this interesting thing where it makes you guess the consequences of certain orders of different actions. I think that this is actually a very innovative puzzle game in that it requires you to think ahead in a way that sometimes a shape-based puzzle game might benefit from, but doesn't necessarily make you do it. This game does, and not only is it fun, but it can be really funny depending on what ends up happening. Number 4 is Epic Little War Game, and if you played the previous War Game series games, this one brings a little bit more of a full-featured approach to it. First off, it's a turn-based strategy game that brings in some features along the lines of base building, as well as single-player and multiplayer modes. Now, I'll say I have some criticisms for the graphics. The impact font tends to make it look a little bit so-so at times, but the game itself is very, very worth overlooking the slightly outdated aesthetics of it, because this is one well-balanced game. It's complex, but at the same time, if you're a new player to even the turn-based strategy genre, you still have an in and you can still get good. It's basically what you would want out of the Little War Game series at this point. More, but don't mess it up. Number 3 is The Walking Dead: A New Frontier, which It is a Telltale game, but let's be frank, the Walking Dead games are pretty much what made Telltale into Telltale. People care about what they do because these are good games. Aside from damn near single-handedly reviving the adventure genre, as well as creating a new business model that has worked out towards getting serial content out there a little bit better, which, let's be honest, paying $5 for a game every once in a while and eventually having the whole thing is much easier on people who don't necessarily have $60 to drop all the time. I'm not saying every game that does this benefits from doing this, but A New Frontier is one of those games that shows exactly why this is a successful model. It's good storytelling, the graphics continue to improve, and most of all, it really sucks you in. It's a good game. Number 2 is Monument Valley 2, which, as you know, Monument Valley was a big thing when it came out. They just kind of randomly brought out Monument Valley 2, and I'll just go ahead and say this, I think it's better than the first one. I haven't beaten it yet, but what I have played has been more of exactly what Monument Valley is, and although that's not necessarily the easiest thing in the world to define, the aesthetics, the soundtrack, and the gameplay come together to make, obviously, another wonderful game. And finally, number 1 is Farming Simulator 18, which is one of those games that has a bit of a learning curve, so if you happen to not have played a previous Farming Simulator, don't feel like you're the only one who doesn't get it. And there are some people who end up playing this game and find that it seems a bit tedious, but the thing is that's what farming is. And Farming Simulator 18 does a good job of focusing that into an actual game. Now, it doesn't really have a story, it's really just your goal is to have a profitable farm, and that's pretty much it. But I mean, there's a lot to do. There's 50 different vehicles, tractors, construction equipment, tillers, land development, irrigation systems, and a few new additions like sunflowers to the crops and pigs to the livestock. Farm Simulator kind of continues to be that weird kind of, I don't know why I play it, but I like playing it game. It's a good time killer and actually manages to make you feel like you're accomplishing something, even with minimal actual emotional investment, which that in of itself, in today's world, is a miracle. Couple of bonus games for you. First is Ace Attorney Dual Destinies, which, let's go ahead and say it, Ace Attorney is always entertaining. It's a fun mystery solving game where you put together clues, and it's worth it for the sense of humor alone. And Slay Away Camp, which is a kind of horror puzzler, but really what it does is play with horror themes via dark comedy. It's got some great puzzles, and it's actually a very pretty game. It's definitely worth a shot. What was your favorite iOS or Android game this month? Leave us a comment, and if you like this video, click the button. If you're not subscribed, now is a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week, and the best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription. As always, we thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter @FalconTheHero, and we'll see you next time right here on GameRanks.